Fashion, food, film, and music. Some of our greatest loves in life. Welcome to Seems to Me with your co-hosts, Cibeline and Steve Ricardo.
Greetings, my darlings.
Come flirt with us today. All right. So I just got to say that I'm loving this. This has been so much fun, and we're going to keep doing this. We have a great show today. Super prepared for you. And we're gonna talk about Greek food. We're gonna talk about David Bowie. We're gonna talk about the documentary Studio 54, which is ridiculously fun. And I've got some fashion advice and some fashion thoughts for you today. So I just wanted to kind of circle back and say, I'm having a really great time being a gallerist. I'm in my third week of this new entrepreneurship that I have started.
I've been there twice.
I know, Steve. You've actually been there more than most people.
That was my plan.
I love it. It's been really cool. And you got to come and join us this Saturday when we had a Meet the Artist with my father, Jean Sariano. And I got to interview him and showcase who he is to the general public. And what's your impression of my father?
Well, I was really, really impressed that I knew who Francis Bacon was when we were talking about Francis Bacon.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with some of the other girls that work there about one of my crazy artists that I love. And your dad immediately knew who we were talking about. And I was like, wow, I wonder if they ever hung out, because that would be really cool. And you know what I wanted to mention? I watched your interview you did on Instagram. You should tell people about that.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
You liked it?
Yes. Yeah. You interviewed your dad.
I did. So we did a 30-minute interview with we did a Meet the Artist 30-minute interview, which I got to tell you, this is the first time I'm doing all this sort of stuff.
Doing a great job.
Thank you. I mean, I just started watching it this morning and was like, oh my goodness, are people going to really react to this? Is this good? He looks like he's falling asleep, but he's not, because he's just focusing.
He looks like an artist to me.
Oh, he is
looks
such
like a crazy artist.
He is. That is the thing. He is a crazy artist. So, it's like his life story needs to be heard. And that's what I'm trying to do here is, like, my dad's 77. He lived through World War II. He was born in World War II, I should say. He was in the French army. He escaped Algeria during the Algerian Revolution, and they moved to Vichy, France, and he decided to become an artist. He went to Des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and then he came to America for the American dream with like pennies in his pocket. Yeah. You know, it is the American dream. It's a great story.
I do recommend that people go down the 460 Harrison Street in the South End of Boston and check out the gallery.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm not just saying that because my co-host here, it's her gallery. I really love it. I'm going to hang out there.
It is. It's a fun
place to hang out.
That's part of it too for me, is that I want to create a place where people come to hang out. It's going to have events. We're going to do live music. It's so much more than just an art gallery showcasing, contemporary abstract
Easy to park
art.
too, by the way. There's parking lots. I parked on the street Saturday.
Yeah, and people are telling me that it's not easy to park. So let me say that you just come down Albany Street, go to 367 Albany Street. There's 2 parking lots on either side. You can park in there. On Saturdays and Sundays, it only costs $10 to be there for over 90 minutes. If you're there for 90 minutes, it's free. So, my dad's artwork, just so you have a visual in your head as you're listening to the show, he's colorful, he's whimsical, it's humorous, it's funny. His titles are just really, like, it pulls it all together. When you read the title, you're like, oh my God, this guy is a character,
I love the way he uses the colors. I can see where you get your love for colors.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
It ran down.
It did.
The next generation.
100%. My dad, like I said, used to walk me up and down Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue. I was born in Manhattan, which is why I want to talk about Studio 54 today.
Your dad's been there too.
My dad has been there, and he told me his story.
During the heyday,
it was only open for 3 years.
Yeah, 77 he was there.
So,
wow.
Anyway, thank you. So Cibeline The Art Gallery, 460 Harrison Avenue. You want to come in off the Albany side. We're
There's
in
a
the
train
sea.
stop probably near there too, but I don't know which one. There's got to be one down there.
Gosh,
We
you
have
had
to
to
look
go there,
into
didn't
that.
you? I don't know.
I'm
what
sorry.
train
We'll
station
find out.
is.
There's got to be a
Anyway, you
T
could take the
stop.
Silver Line bus if you're a bus guy. And then I also wanted to touch on a couple things that I realized we missed as we were having such great dialogue about the last two episodes. We covered Gary Clark Jr. in our very first episode,
Yeah, we
and
did.
I just got to say, one thing that I was remiss to say is my favorite songs. I love Gary Clark Jr. I love what he's doing. I think that he is the Jimi Hendrix, Marvin Gaye, Prince of the modern era. He is the it rock god, if you will, of current, rock and roll. And my favorite song is Low Down Rolling Stone. Another one that is completely different than that one. That one's kind of blues. Then he does Feel Like a Million. Now, Feel Like a Million's almost like a rap song, and it's like reggae, rap, funk, blues.
He crosses over.
Oh man, I mean, when I feel like a million, I put that song on. I'm jamming in my car. I got a little dance going. I mean,
Wow,
it's
sounds like your theme song.
Oh, I've often wanted it to be my theme song, and it talks about Friday night and getting paid, and I'm like, it's Friday night, I'm getting paid, yeah.
I'm glad
that was
you're
not
really
a
in a good
song.
mood today.
I am. I'm feeling charged up. I have been so physically and mentally depleted these last two shows, so this is me today.
You're
This
a hard
is me. I'm
worker.
on The Guitar Man. That is an incredible song. If you haven't listened to Gary Clark Jr., The Guitar Man, that's another one. Pearl Cadillac, sexy, sultry. It's got this beat in the beginning that is just on point. And then obviously he's better known for Bright Lights, which is what made him famous, what got him kind of on the radio. It's a great song, talks about his night in Manhattan and how he wakes up on the floor and all the bright lights and this and that. And, most of us have experienced nights like that in Manhattan. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll talk about your Paramount nights and Studio 54 nights and, all ties together. And then I wanted to circle back on our second episode. No, wait. Second episode, yeah, we talked about Arcade Fire, right? So Arcade Fire, my two favorite songs that they do are Wake Up and Everything Now.
Two good ones.
Yeah, so I think those are just a big sound, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it's like they get you. You feel it in your core.
When I saw them a few years ago, they encored with Wake Up. It obviously is the one that it gets the crowd like.
Right.
It's such an explosive song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Like when I say big sound, you just said it.
Yeah,
like
they have.
explosive.
That's a band full of multi-instrumentalists. They're so talented. Really talented.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one who wanted to talk about them, and I really I realized that of all the musicians that I'm super familiar with, they're probably the least of them. So it was interesting to talk about them. That was kind of your part of this show that you were bringing to the table, and so I really needed to go back once you talked about them and we
you
discussed
fell in
all
love
that.
with them because of what I said about them.
Yeah, I needed to know more.
That's why it's all happening right here.
Exactly. You're the music man. You're my music man. So, and then I also want to do a call back to the Capitol Burger. The Capitol Burger joint, which is actually on 159 Newberry Street, just so everybody could know that, because we didn't say that. I was actually going to go back there this weekend, but ended up not doing that because I've been dreaming about the hamburger. I'm like, I still taste it. Is that good?
You were eating a hamburger and listening to Gary Clark Jr. and your life was fulfilled.
And David Bowie. Yeah, I've been doing my homework. So the burger, people. Let's talk about the three different parts of the cow that are in the burger, which is what I didn't know last week off the top of my head. I reached out to my friend Ileana, giving a plug out, shout out to her. Brisket. Oh, yeah. Short rib. Even better. And chuck. Those are the three parts that they put into their burger. And then I actually saw a picture of what the Swiss cheese looks like. They actually like brown it on the top of the burger. Ooh, yeah.
Orgasmic.
Mhm. So,
Especially with people like myself that don't eat red meat. It sounds so wonderful.
exactly. Don't you want to just go down and get one of those burgers?
They I think you mentioned they have vegan
They do.
options.
They do. So when we'll talk about some vegan, vegetarian options today for you, but they do have lots of options. Actually, one of the things I got that day was I love deviled eggs. I don't know about you.
I do too.
I'm a
Yeah.
big deviled eggs fan.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Right? Like
Yeah.
when a restaurant has deviled eggs, I have to try them. And sometimes they're garbage and sometimes they're great. Right?
Right. When you go to those like what they used to call old man bars on the corner of the road,
Yeah.
and they get the jar sitting on the counter with the boiled eggs and the vinegar, not so much. But maybe
Yeah,
at the
that sounds awful.
maybe at the Capitol Grill, right?
Capital Burger.
Capitol Burger, it might be a little better.
Yeah, I will say, not the best deviled eggs I've ever had. You know who had great deviled eggs was Lord Hobo. Oh, B-Side Lounge. No,
B-Side
B-Side.
Lounge.
Wasn't that the restaurant that was in
Yes.
Cambridge near Oleana?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
their deviled eggs were redonkulous.
Redonkulous?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's my word.
I like that word.
I personally think that I came up with that word in college. I'm sure plenty of people use that word, but anyway, I've been told that people think it's funny when I say it because they've never heard of it. It's
I used
ridiculous.
to say smothercate me was my word. Smothercate
Ooh,
me.
I like that.
I had a thing with one of my ex-girlfriends. Can we
Smothercate.
smothercate each other now?
I love that. You know what's another word I often use?
I think we just changed the whole script of the show.
Yeah, we did. Another word I think that really summarizes this perfect feeling is overwhelmtion. Overwhelmtion.
This is like a whole show. You realize that? I mean, I could come up with other words, but I'm not coming up.
Wait, we've smothercate, we've redonkulous, and overwhelmtion. You want to know what overwhelmtion means to me?
Of course.
When I look at my house and there's shite everywhere and I've got to, vacuum and sweep and I have dishes in the sink and I got to make my bed and I got to fold the laundry and I've got 1,000 things to do in the house, I get overwhelmtion.
People are pulling out their dictionaries looking for these words.
Yeah, well, there you go. It should be in the Webster dictionary.
So what do you got on the plate for today?
So on our agenda for today, we are going to do a little plug for our favorite Greek restaurants in town, in and around town, because actually I don't really know of any Greek restaurants in downtown Boston that I know of. But I am going to give a big, warm, lovey shout out to one of my favorite restaurants of at least 25 years now that I've lived here, the Greek Corner on Mass Ave in Cambridge, right on the Cambridge-Somerville line. You can walk there from Davis. I used to go there all the time when my boutique was on Holland Street. It's hard to replicate Greek food, like true off the boat. I mean, I've spent some time in Greece. I went there in college. I actually went there for my honeymoon. I know Greek food.
Honeymoon in Greece.
Oh, let me tell you, it was magical. It was really cool. And the food, I mean, true Greek food is vegetables, feta cheese, fish. I mean, it's just so pure and fresh. And that's not really what we get here and not what we think here. People think of the gyro, or hero, or whatever you want to call it. But what I do love that happens here in America that you don't necessarily buy when you're there is the moussaka.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and I know, again, it has meat. I'm sorry, Steve.
It's
but,
okay.
I'm a meat lover. What can I do?
There's nothing you can do about it.
I've tried to become a vegetarian. It doesn't
Some people
work.
can't.
No, I like me some meat. So
moussaka. I just want to tell you, I grew up eating meatballs.
I know you.
My mother's born in Italy.
You got like Sunday gravy, right?
Right. Well, we don't call it gravy though. Sauce.
Yeah. Who came up with this whole Sunday gravy thing?
I don't know, but I don't like it. It doesn't represent Italian sauce at all.
But do you know how many Italians I hear refer to like Sunday gravy?
To me, they're not real Italians.
That's
you can quote me on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ricardo. I've always wondered that because I'm technically not Italian, even though people always think I am. And I did study in Italy, so I can tell you I've eaten Italian food.
And they don't call it
Again.
gravy in
No.
Italy.
Gravy is what you put on chicken and turkey.
Yeah, it's not red.
It's not red. It's brown. And it comes from the grizzle and all that stuff that comes off the, meat.
The first time I heard that, I was visiting a friend of mine in Long Island, and they were Sicilians. They weren't from, their family was from Sicily. They were all born here. And they were like passing the gravy. And I'm looking at them like, what the hell? Gravy?
But see, here's the thing. I think that we would find 50-50 on the gravy thing because I know a lot of Italians that call it Sunday gravy or something like that.
Not this one.
All right, good. I'm down with that. All right, so back to our beautiful Greek people. So I actually have a background in Greece. My father's father was from Thessaloniki, which is the north side of Greece, not the islands, but the northern part, north of Athens. I've never been there myself, but we're like Sephardic Jews, technically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up Jewish. My mother's Christian. I grew up with her. So, I have this whole side of my family that are French Algerian Jews. Berber is what they called it in North Africa. But he was from Thessaloniki, and he was a Jewish man from Thessaloniki, which is unusual, I think, in my mind. I think of, Greek people as Christian.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think of them as Jewish.
Right? Yeah. No. So moussaka and spanakopita, those are my two favorite dishes. And spanakopita is vegetarian. It's feta, spinach with phyllo dough wrapped around it. And everybody makes it differently. Some make it more salty, some make it less salty, some make the phyllo more, thick. Some people make it more thin and fluffy and buttery and crispy, and that's the one I like. I can't say that Greek Corner makes the best spanakopita, but they do make the best moussaka around. And then there's, of course, the horatiki salad, which you would love, which is tomato. Oftentimes they put pepper in it, always feta cheese, and just like lots of tomato, lots of feta, cucumber, and then oil and vinegar and salt and pepper. It's just pure.
Scrumptious.
We need to go down there after one of these shows.
Let's go.
And so let's talk about your favorite vegan place.
Before I talk about vegan crust, I wanted to mention that I lived in Astoria for a few years. So I used to eat a lot of Greek food.
No way. Talk about that for a second.
Well, it was just a great neighborhood. It was over the... I used to take the N and the R train to go in and out of the city a lot, but it was really quick getting from Manhattan to Astoria and Queens.
But it's known for its, Middle Eastern and Greek food, right?
A lot of Greeks, a lot of good Greek food. And unfortunately, I'm not up on all the names of everything like you are, but I do remember going there. This was a while ago. This is in the early 90s.
No, but it's still there. And I've really fallen in love with Middle Eastern food in the last 2 years. Because I have wonderful people in my life that are from Jordan. I eat Middle Eastern food now all the time. And my understanding is when you go to Astoria, it's like the real deal.
It's great there.
Like really good shawarma, mansef. What else? Gosh, I'm not prepared to talk about Middle Eastern food right now, but Greek, that's like all Greek food, right?
Yeah, as good as Boston is with restaurants and food, New York still has the edge.
Oh, please.
I hate to say it. Now all the Red Sox fans will be mad at me, but I don't care. So
we're not Yankee fans, so there you go.
There's a place right across the street from where we record here in Somerville at 445 Somerville Ave. They have two locations. They also have one in Brookline, which is a more uppity part of town. The place is called Vegan Crust. They have pizza, panini, pasta, Indian food, salads, dairy-free ice cream. They make their own dough, their own sauces. They make everything, and it's 100% vegetarian with vegan options, which is becoming more and more popular. All their food
and
is
gluten-free? Do they have gluten-free?
Yeah, I was going to tell you that my go-tos when I go there is their gluten-free pizza. And you can get it with spinach and feta cheese, which is what we're getting today when we leave here.
I've never had
because I already told you we're going across the street to eat there today.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
ready
the
to do that
the
today.
other thing I want to mention, because we're very food heavy so far, is that they have these freshly squeezed juices, and I personally like the celery, cucumber, lime one. It's
Mm.
just those three things together in a nice
Well, guess what?
squeezed juice.
I came hungry.
Well, I think you might be treating. I don't know why I think that. Maybe because I got you a $7.50
I knew he was going to say
latte
that.
at the Diesel Cafe.
All right, Diesel.
on my
Will
way
you throw
here.
Steve Ricardo a freebie next
I
week
love
for me,
Diesel.
please?
I'm sorry, but that's a lot for a
$8
coffee.
for a
Yes.
dirty chai. I asked
It's
for a dirty chai, people. Okay, a dirty chai has chai, a shot of espresso, and
You
I
had
asked
an
for
extra
almond
shot,
milk.
though.
No, I just said shot.
Oh, got you an extra shot.
Oh well, good. I need it.
Well, you got it.
I have a I have my Starbucks coffee that I got on the way, knowing full well that Steve had a dirty chai for me, apparently with an extra shot.
Which
I
had
do
to
like
go,
my caffeine.
You know, because of the pandemic, you can't walk in and do things the way you normally do. You have to
Oh,
order it on a
no.
computer. So I had to go ask them first, how do you order a dirty chai? Because I had no idea.
I just kind of discovered a dirty chai. I mean, I got to tell you, I don't know if you've ever, you're not really
No,
a
I
coffee
don't drink
drinker.
coffee. I did
But
get you
chai
an
is tea,
Americano
my
last
friend.
time, though, and you like that.
I did. Okay, well,
Yeah.
next time I'll ask you for the Americano.
I'll get you the dirty chais. I'm fine with
I mean,
that.
the $8 dirty chai. No, I think that's obscene too. So I'm down with you. No cup of coffee should be $8.
With
It's
your
for
lifestyle,
donkeys.
I think an $8 coffee makes sense.
Yeah, well, he was just admiring my car outside
Yeah, you
and
have a
thinking
nice
I'm like
car.
some hoity-toity.
It doesn't look. It makes my Toyota Corolla not look like much.
All right, can we talk about why I did it? I have a beautiful used. It was one owner prior to me. They kept it in mint condition. I
It is in
lucked
mint
out.
condition.
This car had 48,000 miles on it.
Wow.
48.
It only
and
cost you
it's
48,000.
No. It's 7 years old. Thank you very much. And it's a E350 Mercedes Benz.
I mean, obviously opposites attract on this podcast.
Dude, I've never had a Mercedes Benz in my life.
I've
All right. It's
never
my
had-
dream car. I'm 46 years old. Do I deserve my dream car?
Okay, if you want to put it that way.
It's my.
You're a very young looking 46. Can I just say that to
Oh.
like make sure that the
Yeah,
flirting part
thank
of
you.
our show.
Apparently,
you
you
know.
don't give out your age, but I'm proud to say I'm
I'm
46.
a little older than you.
I'm going to segue now into fashion. Okay.
Okay.
So, fashion, I had to think on this. What am I going to give my beautiful audience here about fashion? And I think the most important thing right now as we head into May, when we all start to switch over our closets, because I don't know, like Steve, you're going to like roll your eyes at this, but most of us women switch over our closets. I have a winter closet. I have winter shoes.
My eyes
I
aren't,
have
aren't
fall
rolling yet.
shoes. I have summer shoes. I have spring shoes, and I have a spring summer wardrobe that I swap over, and I have a fall winter
Just wow,
wardrobe.
Wow.
Okay, I have
just
two
wow.
closets in my house, and I just flip flop them.
Wow.
And that's the fashionista in me here. So I get to talk about what I do.
This is what
personally.
you've done for a living your whole life. Though, so I'm not
Exactly.
really that surprised.
No, I'm born. This is my passion. This is what fires me up. I love all things fashion, all things color, all things clothes, shoes, accessories, you name it.
You always look fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
I'll tell
'Cause
you,
if
I
I
re-
didn't, that would be really bad, wouldn't it?
While I was driving here today and I drove by down Holland Street and I looked over to where your store used to be, I was thinking about, like, that's where Cibeline used to be. I remember when I went in there, you never gave me any crap about the way I looked or anything. But as time went on, you started giving me more and more advice. And you love button-down shirts, which I have one on right now. And most people that know me know that I usually have rock T-shirts on, okay? And my Vans hat or something like
Yeah,
that.
you've got a vibe. You've got a style. I said that week one.
But
week two.
I'm very conscious about my fashion when I'm around you. And it's like, it's all because of you, really, because I never really got to know another fashion designer. I'm not good buddies
Well,
with
I
Calvin
would hope
Klein.
I would hope that you know that I'm not judgmental when it comes to people's style. I appreciate all style, and I appreciate everybody. You wear like silver eyeglasses. I think that's cool. Like not silver as in like a metal. They're like plastic
I have
silver
pink ones and
readers.
green
I
ones,
know, and you
too.
were wearing pink ones last week.
Yeah.
You've got your own vibe, and
Thank
that's
you.
totally like on point. It is totally on
Coming
point.
for
I should
you,
say.
I feel very
I
honored
don't
to
think
hear
you
that.
need to worry about it at all. But just to say what you said, I think many moons ago I told you that a man should wear a collared shirt. Like
Yes, you
it's
did.
it's not so much that I don't. I do appreciate the t-shirt. I appreciate the sweatshirt. I appreciate all that. But if that's what you wear all the time, then you're gonna look sloppy. Personally, that's just my take on it. I'm sorry. That's just how I
I
feel.
love your honesty.
You know, like if you're going on a date with a girl, don't just wear
As soon
a
as I get my
goddamn
Bumble
t-shirt.
account going, I'll be going on a date.
I'm just saying to all the men out there, if you're going on a first date, unless you're wearing like a Supreme or like a Gucci or I don't know, a rock shirt. Okay, I'm down with a rock t-shirt for a date. That's cool.
This
it has
is
to have a vibe.
this is a little off topic, but then again, it's on topic. A friend of mine female friend of mine who keeps telling me I need to start dating and I need to get my Bumble account going, told
Spare
me I
yourself.
can't wear a hat in my photo on Bumble. Is that true?
Well, I mean, from what I hear, you should, at least have at least one or two shots of like what your hair looks like.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that women aren't going to go for like some women aren't going to go for the bald man.
Yeah, so she was right.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
you
I'm
can't.
not bald, but
you-
I don't have the hair that I used to have. Let's put it that way. I
From
used to have thick, beautiful hair.
you did sexy, beautiful hair.
Now it's very short and not as
Yeah.
thick.
I think from what I understand, that happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I wanted to cover today on fashion is the color of 2021. So according to Pantone, the color of 2021 is a combo between what they call ultimate gray and bright yellow of lemon skin. And guess what? Do you know what my logo is of my new art gallery? It's yellow and gray. And I didn't even look this up before I came and decided to do my logo.
Why am I not surprised by this?
I have to say, like, this has happened my whole life. Like, I see things and my mind absorbs things, like whether it's magazines, whether it's going into a bookstore, whether it's seeing people walking down the street. I take in subconsciously this inspiration, I guess you would call it. And I knew right away, like I was struggling between, am I going to do red? Am I going to do orange? Am I going to do yellow? But at the end of the day, I knew I was doing yellow and I knew I was doing gray. And that was just what it was. So then when I went into Pantone yesterday to look at what the color of the season was, I was like, you got to be kidding me. How did I pick this up? Again, I don't know how it happens. It's just when I was saying this about creative people, like I've had to shut my creativity off many times in my life when I'm in the middle of a big project and I'm sketching and I'm designing and I go through magazines. That's the first thing I do is I pull up. I like the actual magazine. I also do it with
copies.
Pinterest, of course, but
Yes.
I'm old school, so I'm going to put together a color story on a color board. And I go through magazines and I pull tears and I organize them into color combos and color stories. And then I create a color story on a board that might be, Kelly green with highlights of, gray and cream or something like that. I don't know, just throwing that out there. But so when I just saw what Pantone had to say about this, it's all about the pandemic, ironically. I mean, not ironically, I guess, but a combo of dull, familiar gray with the bright yellow of lemon skin. It's called Ultimate Gray, and it's a state of mind, which is mush. The gray of cloudy mush. It makes sense. I mean, haven't we all felt a little mushy?
Yeah.
I felt mushy. The gray of cloudy skies, sidewalk cement, comfortable bed linens, gravity blankets, or low light screens. This color evokes, that ultimate gray, I guess. And then it's the juxtaposition too. I love that word. I've been using it a lot lately. This bright, vibrant, fun yellow that just reads sunshine and happiness. And this is the hope of the future of 2021 is this yellow that we're about to like walk into here in the spring.
I'm going home later. I'm going to get my canvas out. I'm going to find some black and white, make some good gray, and I'm going to find. I got a lot of yellows. I like to paint yellow. I use acrylic paint.
I'm telling you, we've talked about this
put
yellow.
Together something.
Yes.
You gave me an idea while I was sitting
exactly.
there.
Inspiration.
And my
right
good
there.
friend who you've met recently, Alvin Long, who's one of the best artists in Boston, right down the road. I'm going to mention this to him, and I guarantee he's going to give me some good feedback on this.
I really look forward to getting to know Alvin better. We've popped into his little studio space the last couple of times after each episode, and I've had places to go and things to do after each one of these episodes. But today, I don't.
He loves talking about fashion, by the way. He's really into the NBA players and their fashion because there's a lot of fashion going on. I gave you a copy of Vanity Fair to look at all these NBA players.
So Vanity Fair from April 2021 has the chick from The Queen's Gambit, which was such Anya Taylor-Joy. What an incredible actress, first of all. Such incredible fashion on The Queen's Gambit.
Show yet.
What? Get on it. Get on it.
You've been giving me all these assignments to watch all these shows. It's because of you I haven't gotten to that yet.
I highly recommend it to all people. I've always been fascinated with chess, and I don't really know how to play it, but I think the strategy of it is so phenomenal. And so I love poker and I love cards. I could hold my candle at a table of all men with poker.
Wow.
And I've taken down a table of men at poker. It's just, I'm telling you, I love it. And I want to go.
I'm not surprised.
When all my friends are talking about babies and nails and this and that with all the, girls, I'm in the other room with the guys playing poker.
That does not surprise me.
So, okay, where do we go from here? Do we go to Studio 54? Yes. Okay, so Studio 54. It's carefree. It's hot. It's sexy. It's April 26th, 1977. And you're waiting out in line 30 people deep to get into the hottest, newest nightclub on 54th and 8th Avenue in Manhattan. What are you wearing, Steve?
I'm not sure if Steve Rubella would have let me in, but, maybe.
I'd like to think that we would be let in.
When you think about his taste in men, he could have been interested in me because that's how a lot of men got in, because he would look at the guys and go, okay, we'll let him in.
I got to tell you, after watching, We're
watched. We're talking about the documentary on Netflix.
Studio 54 documentary. And I actually also watched the behind the music or behind the scenes of Studio 54 because I wanted a different perspective. Because I felt like the Studio 54 documentary covers Steve Rubell and Ian Schrager and their whole process of opening up a nightclub, how they got there, where they came from, two Brooklyn guys that went to Syracuse University.
Good friends.
Good friends. And Ian was straight and Steve was gay. And they had this crazy love affair relationship that was just, they inspired each other. And I'm inspired by their business acumen.
I learned a lot from watching that documentary.
Me too. I feel super inspired because the way they came up with a business idea and then both of them just brought their skill set. Steve was the people person. Ian was behind the scenes. Steve knew how to get the press there and the media to cover it and the beautiful people in there. And he would just pick up the phone and call all the celebrities, invite them in. This was all leading up to them opening up Studio 54. It was a nothing. Nobody knew anything about Studio 54. On the night it opened, there were 30 people deep in line, a mass of people trying to get into this place. And that's what you want. When you're opening up a business, you dream of that, right?
It was really exciting.
Right. I felt like I was there. So I'm 3 years old at this point, maybe 2.5 years old. I live in Manhattan. We didn't live far from there. We were in Chelsea. So we were on 8th Avenue. We were on 30th between 7th and 8th when I was little.
You weren't far at all.
No. And so it's so funny to me because they open up this documentary about how people were just waiting to get in. Steve Steve wasn't actually doing that first night, but after that, the doorman guy. So they said that they had to bring all of their security people that they had outside because they couldn't even control this
It was
crowd.
disco mania.
Disco mania, exactly. And they talk about the fact, and I just can picture this because I've been to nightclubs where you're like, am I ever going to see my coat again? You go and you like check your coat in at door check, and you're like, he says at one point people were just throwing their coats on the floor because they were just sucked into that like doof doof doof, like the drum and the beat and
Imagine
the bass.
the end of the night. What the end of the night was like, if it ever ended.
I don't think it did. It was sunrise.
Probably didn't.
It didn't. I mean, they're on Quaaludes and cocaine and, the drugs, the story of the drugs and the alcohol. So they would apply each day.
Fascinating.
For a liquor license.
Because they couldn't get,
catering.
They would get a day pass, a day permit as a caterer, which eventually was part of their downfall.
Caught up to them for sure. So what I found was super interesting. I don't know if you caught this because it wasn't on the Studio 54 documentary, but I caught it on the behind the scenes. Gloria Gaynor, who is famous for I Will Survive.
Yes.
This became a hit song because of the DJs at Studio 54.
I believe that.
She wasn't getting any airtime and it wasn't getting any recognition. And they actually went to the DJ and they said, "Can you listen to this song? Could you listen to side B?" Or I think it was her side B. And I Will Survive. He's like, "I love it. This is great. This is going to be great." And they started playing it, and that's what got it to
Became
number
a
one.
Massive hit.
Massive hit. That she is who she is. And you think about 1977 and the whole polyester thing, Gloria Gaynor, that was her it moment, right?
Yes.
And it was because of Studio 54. So I thought that was a little interesting tidbit. We haven't even covered what we're actually going to cover about Studio 54. But anyway, what's your take on everything?
Well, I got a bunch of notes here, so I'm just going to go through them. Like you said, they opened in 77. They were shut down within a month because of that liquor license problem. They reopened a day later. They closed for good only in 1980, February. Schrager and Rebel pleaded guilty. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. No,
they both pleaded guilty to tax evasion and spent 13 months in prison. And the only reason why they got out early is because they threw some of the other clubs under the bus.
They were closed down for good.
I didn't say that Obama, pardoned him.
I know, I have
in
that
2017. I didn't go that far ahead. Well, the documentary talks. One thing you mentioned that was really amazing is how they were able to control the press and the amount of publicity they got.
I'm fascinated by
the photo of Bianca Jagger on a horse. Everyone knows that photo. That photo was everywhere.
And I never knew it was from Studio 54.
They brought a horse into the club. They had to bring it up an elevator.
It was her birthday.
Yes.
The parties that they hosted, I love theme parties. Everybody that knows me knows that I am all for a theme party, okay? Excuse me. And Halloween is my favorite holiday because I love to get dressed up.
Was it everyday Halloween there?
Yes, it was. That's the thing. I'm so, I always felt this way about Woodstock too. I wished I had been there. I just wish I had been there. And that's how I feel about Studio 54.
Me too.
I just vicariously am living through this. And I don't think I would have been the Quaalude, sex on the balcony kind of person, but I would have gone there.
I would have been the cocaine kind of person.
Okay. Well, yeah, I never got into cocaine, thank God. But
I was in the music industry. Need I say more?
I know. There's so much to this documentary.
There's a
so
couple
much
other
to it.
things that I have to mention so I don't forget here. Yeah. I noticed that in the documentary hit this hard too. Andy Warhol, Bianca Jagger, and Liza Minnelli. They were mainstays there.
Staples,
those three.
Every night.
And then what I loved in there in the documentary is when they interviewed a very young Michael Jackson and they asked him what his opinion of the club was. They said, "How would you describe the club?" And he goes, "Escapism." And then Steve Rubell started using that word after he said it, which I thought was absolutely...
It was actually more like, "It was the best place I've ever been. It's like escapism."
Exactly.
I mean, his voice.
Exactly. He was only 18.
He was 19?
Yeah, 1977. Well,
I
maybe
couldn't
19.
believe how high his voice was. I was like taken
He had
aback
the
by it.
great afro at
Oh,
that time. He looked
that was like
amazing.
off the wall Michael
Yeah.
Jackson,
Oh yeah,
right?
he was just on the top of his game right there.
I
Well,
had that
people,
poster in my bedroom, the off the wall. I used to kiss it every night before I went to bed. Like I was really enamored with Michael Jackson at that time, and it's just so sad to me what he did to himself physically.
this is
Because this is
before
him.
all
That was
of the
him.
plastic surgery and everything.
Right, totally. Okay, MJ, escapism, interesting.
I guess I did kind of fast forward because a lot of my notes talk about his interview when he said, only the mafia makes more money than us. And that ended up causing the IRS to invade them. And they had this skim scam going on. And instead of taking a little bit off the top, they were taking 80%.
Okay. So let's talk about this though. Like, if you can think about it, first of all, Ian was 29 years old. Steve's 33. That's at least where.
23, I think.
No.
Maybe.
33. Steve
he
was
was.
33. Ian was 29. They were friends at Syracuse, so they were only a couple years apart, and they were roommates. So I think actually Steve must have been a year or two younger than that. But Ian was 29 years old. Can you imagine having the hottest nightclub? Now, to just circle back, because this is where I get excited. I love business and I love entrepreneurship. So there were 4,000 to 5,000 people that would come in there a night.
That many?
Yep.
Wow.
They're charging $15 to $20 a head.
Unless they were celebrities, they would get those people in
Of
for
course,
free, right?
of course. But even they said Mick Jagger and Keith Richards would get in free, but the other
not
Rolling
Bill
Stones.
Wyman. I love that. When they said that, I love that.
The
It's
other
like,
Rolling Stones would have to pay
wait,
the
you're in
cover.
Mick Taylor, you're in the Rolling Stones. You don't really look familiar. You have to pay to get in.
So what is that? 10K. That's 10K just in
They made
people
a lot of
walking through
money.
the door. 10K just people coming in. Then you've got
The bar.
Cristal,
Yeah.
bottles of champagne. They had, princes coming through from the Middle East, from, Saudi Arabia. They had, you were, I have this great quote. Hold on. Steve created this whole vibe of only the beautiful people get in. And he wanted to have fun-loving people. He created the term bridge and tunnel. And he said that polyester melts under the lights. So don't let the guys in with the big, like, crazy collared polyester shirts. And bridge and tunnel, I mean, when I tell you, when I lived in Manhattan, we would go to Limelight. I think it was called Limelight.
The Limelight.
Yeah, right?
If it was a church.
In the church, yeah.
Limelight.
We
I've been
could,
there.
I mean,
great place.
we never actually went because we didn't think we could get in. Because that was that whole thing. Like, unless you were a model, unless you were somebody famous in Manhattan, you didn't get in the door. And so Steve
I must
Rubel,
have been famous.
he created that whole concept. Oh, did you get in?
Oh, I used to go to the Limelight a lot because there were a lot of rock shows there.
Oh, right.
So
Well,
I would get it. I was always on the guest list.
Exactly. You were the important VIP that didn't have NG or GN on your name.
People would probably be upset at me if they knew how many times I never paid for a ticket in my life. I got into
I would expect that. I mean, hello, you're part of the music industry.
Yeah.
You get in anywhere you go. I didn't have that clout. So I remember, like, I always say, I really enjoy being a VIP, Steve. Can I tell you?
You're still a VIP.
I like being a VIP at a restaurant. I like being a VIP at a nightclub. I didn't really have that.
You're a VIP on this podcast.
Oh, well, it's fun to be a VIP. But so, where was my little quote? So Friday and Saturday night, Steve Rubel would be like, the bridge and tunnel crowd isn't allowed. So that means all the people coming over from New Jersey,
Unless
from
you flew in
Queens.
from like the Rolling Stones did, or
right. Well,
or David Bowie used to go there.
But think about it. Like, my dad. Okay, so we'll segue into my dad going. So I said to my dad, I go, "Did you ever go to Studio 54? Like, it's 1977. You have a 2.5-year-old daughter at home. Did you go?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I did. I went and I got in." And I said, "How'd you get in? Like, that's a big thing. How do you get into Studio 54? And he goes, "I don't know. I guess he just liked me." He said he tried to pick up a basketball player, like female basketball player. So I'm thinking to myself, this must have been a model. She must have been 6 foot something. Now, my dad is 5'6" on his best day, okay? And he's about 95 pounds soaking wet. So he's in there trying to pick up a 6 foot something model, and it probably
He
was a
probably was in the
transvestite.
balcony. He probably ended up in the famous balcony where who knows what was going on up there.
He had a wife at home, but yep, that doesn't surprise me. He probably did. But yeah, he said it was awesome, and he went, and it was everything that you could imagine it would be. It was hot, it was sexy, it was no inhibition. There was absolutely zero inhibitions, and one of the things I thought was funny because I think Trump did this a lot too, and we know this for a fact. They would write on the guest list and GN next to somebody's, and that meant no good. But they had to put GN instead of NG, and you couldn't get in if you had that on your name.
Hopefully, Trump was on that list.
No, he wasn't, because he was definitely there.
Probably.
What I will talk about the fact that this was a theater that existed prior to being Studio
CBS
54.
owned it, right?
It's CBS, right? But it was an actual, like, regal, beautiful looking theater. It had a slanted, audience with chairs and all that. They spent $400 grand
they did.
to rehab that space in 1977. That's a lot of money. A lot of money.
They had the best people doing it.
Yeah.
Best architect.
Oh, that guy, the architect. I would love to pick his
Schrager
brain.
was the one that was behind all that, right?
So Ian Schrager is still in the industry today. He's now one of the top
Yes, he is.
hoteliers. I don't know, is that a word? He is, it is Ian Schrager. He is the man who created the concept of the boutique hotel. How cool is that?
Very cool.
Like the fact that they went from Studio 54, going to jail, getting nailed on tax evasion, and they come back as the comeback kids in 1985, and they're on the cover of Time Out magazine, and they're coming back, and they borrowed $14 million.
The banks gave it to them.
And they gave it to them because you know what? These guys were brilliant when it came to being a business. They're. I could just go on forever.
Well,
but anyway,
the Palladium was the first place that they opened when they came out.
Which, we've all heard of the Palladium.
And, it's funny because I was going to mention this because I know you must have seen in the documentary Calvin Klein going into the Palladium. Did you happen to notice who he was with? Because
No.
I did. David Geffen.
Because he was gay.
David Geffen and Calvin Klein were going in the
David
Palladium.
Geffen?
Geffen Records.
Okay.
And DGC Records. It's a big record company.
So tell us more
Aerosmith
about that.
was on that label. You heard of them, right?
Just a few times.
Since you shared a column once in the Boston Herald with the guys from Aerosmith, I saw that.
Right.
You were in the Herald, you and Aerosmith side by side.
That was the Herald inside track.
Yep.
I was like, ooh, I made it.
But the only other things I wanted to mention before we jump on to music is the last show they had after they were told that they had to shut down. They had Diana Ross and Liza Minnelli perform. Imagine that, the going away party. And then, unfortunately, Rebel ended up dying of AIDS. But they lived together out in the Hamptons.
East Hampton.
Yep, they had a huge, beautiful place.
They still do.
And Schrager is big time right now in New York still with all the hotels. I actually stayed many times at the Paramount Hotel, 46th and Broadway. I remember one funny story when I was in there. When A&M put me there one time, I told the travel department, I want to stay here all the time because it was such a cool hotel. And one time I'm sitting in the lobby and I'm just watching people because it's a really cool place. And Matt Dillon goes walking by me. So I got to know some of the door people there. And I said, what's Matt Dillon doing here? And they're like, oh, he lives here. I'm like, he lives here? And he had his own place, the top of the Paramount. So him and Schrager must have been
we have
buddies.
One of those type of hotels here in Boston. The Liberty Hotel actually has people who come and stay. If they're filming a movie or something like that in Boston, I have always done all my big events in the presidential suite, and they would give it to me at a really good rate for one night, and I would do all my trunk shows. And there was one time when I booked it, and they were like, well, right now, Bruce Willis is living there, and David Ortiz has lived there, and this and that and that and this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sleeping in the same bed as like serious people, I mean, I mean, it's the same.
I've never been there. When I was
Oh, it's so
living
cool.
in LA and I would stay in Boston, I would stay at the Elliott Hotel all the time. And I used to see a lot of celebs there. It was a suite. Every room was a suite. I think I mentioned that in the last show too.
Well, just
Maybe
to
we'll
kind
get a
of
free room at the Elliott.
Oh, yes, you've mentioned the Elliott several times,
I
and
love
I
the
mean, it's a kind of a rock and roll hotel
Yes.
history, right? I've
Yes.
never really been in there. I've always admired it from the outside, but we'll have to go down
I
there.
ran into Meatloaf once in the elevator.
No
I
way.
did.
I
I'm like,
I
hey,
have.
Meat.
I'm like a closet Meatloaf fan.
A lot of rock people stayed at the Elliott.
Yeah.
And back then, when I stayed there, the Tower Records in Newbury Commons
Yeah,
were right around the
right
corner.
across the street.
So it was a really good locale.
Mhm.
Anything on Comm Ave in Boston's nice.
I remember that Tower Records. It was huge. It was massive. Well, okay, so just to kind of close up the whole Studio 54, if you guys haven't seen it, it's really interesting. It's not only interesting because of the music and the fashion and the people that were there, but also I'm really impressed by their business brains and how they got something to be so huge so quickly. And Grease had their premiere party there in 1978. I mean, Grease has been a massive movie for so long, and just to think, I mean, that was kind of the it movie then and the it place then, to have your premiere at a place like that. They had a ton of just private events that were super inspiring to me. And as Steve said, they got convicted on tax evasion. They went to jail. Their last big party was he wore a fedora, by the way, and he played "I Did It My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
Yeah,
that's how
right.
he closed the
Yeah,
night.
that
So
was
I
cool.
thought that was cool, just to kind of close it off on a cool song. And I think that we should segue into David Bowie, because Bowie and Iman also went to Studio 54 and were a big part of that world. But we are going to cover David Bowie as our musician artist of the week.
Yes, we are.
Tell me about.
Well, I'm going to zoom right through some of
Yeah.
this stuff here. I'm going to just tell you right away my three favorite David Bowie
And then I'm going
albums,
to tell you
because
mine.
they came out right in order. 1971, Hunky Dory, my favorite Bowie song, Life on Mars, Changes, Queen Bitch. Mick Ronson played on guitar and Rick Wakeman on piano.
Okay,
It's
slow down, because you tell us this like we should know all of this, but think about the people
You
who
should.
aren't music people. Okay, so why are those your favorite songs
Why are those my favorite songs?
or albums?
Well, let me just tell you the three albums, because
Okay,
it's
please.
Hunky Dory in 71, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust in 72, and Aladdin Sane in 73. Mick Ronson plays guitar with Bowie on those records, and their chemistry was fantastic. And Rick Wakeman played on some of the songs from Yes, the band Yes.
I was gonna say
And I think the songs, when you look at those records, I'll just list the best songs from those records: Life on Mars, Changes, Queen Bitch. Then you got Moon Age Daydream, Starman, Suffragette City. Then you got the Genie, Panic in Detroit, and Cracked Actor. I mean, he was on a roll. Now, this is not to say that he didn't have other great periods, because he had many great periods. I'm sure you have other records that are probably completely different.
Jumped out to me.
Yeah, but that I just wanted to say that was my favorite era. He was way
So
glam.
70s.
He was glam. It was a heavy glam rock period, and I love glam rock.
Okay, yeah, that is your thing, right? Glam rock is
Yes.
like, would you classify the Charms as glam rock or
They're
garage
kinda
rock?
glammy.
But
They're glammy.
glam garage.
Yeah, there was a
What defines garage rock?
more dirty sounding, punkier. It was a term that came out in the 60s. It could have been any kind of music when it came out, but it ended up becoming a 3-chord rock, dirtier sound.
And when you say dirty versus like nasty, what does that like differentiate?
I don't think there's much of a differentiation.
I always use nasty for blues and like funk soul. So like dirty to me means more like, like a little more angry, a little
louder
bit more
guitars,
loud.
more distorted
Mhm.
guitars. Glam, on the other hand, is kind of almost the same, because the New York
metalhead.
Dolls were kind of like fall into both categories.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
The New York Dolls,
New York
kind
Dolls,
of,
right?
they fall into that category. They were the American punk glam band. But Bowie and Queen and Mott the Hoople and T-Rex and early Roxy Music, they were more the
glam rock.
Where glam started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
what I mean by that.
so glam rock kind of meets that whole like pink yellow hair, that funky, like not funky. Hold on, I'm just trying to put it into like fashion.
Androgynous.
Yeah,
Androgyny.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I picture. Like to me, Cyndi Lauper falls into that a little bit. Not that she was. I would classify her as rock necessarily, but she was glam.
She was
rock
definitely
to me,
glammy.
right? Yeah, she was super
Yeah.
glammy, and Madonna in the beginning was that too.
Yeah, you could say a lot of people are glam, but glam rock is more Bowie,
that
Queen.
guitar.
Yeah.
So you just listed off your favorite songs, Steve, and your favorite albums, and I'm going to give you my favorite songs.
Okay.
I have no clue what albums they were, so
Okay.
sorry. But
It's all right.
I personally have always been drawn to Cat People.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
love that
Great song.
deep, like doom doom that it starts off with. Like that to me, that song, and that was in Inglourious Bastards. That's when I remember really going, "Who? Wow! Oh, wow! God, this song speaks to my soul for some reason." And of course, fashion, fashion. That is a big one. And then Life on Mars, to me, I think the intro on Life on Mars is
Beautiful.
really beautiful. And then as I was driving here, I love Let's Dance. I was listening to Let's Dance, and I love the lyric, "Put on your red shoes and dance the blues." That to me just sums it up.
You're more into the late 70s, 80s Bowie. I'm into the real early Bowie, but I love all Bowie though.
Right, but that's the thing.
Love it
he's
all.
So how do you even describe Bowie? Because he hits so many genres in some ways. Like I will say that there is I want to go ahead and say it was maybe 2010 that he does a live version. Well, he's in concert and they videotaped it. I found it on YouTube, and it's Heroes. And he's wearing a navy sharkskin suit with a skinny tie, and he he has this dialogue with his band about "come to daddy, talk to daddy tonight" or whatever, and he's just so I got to get the sense that he's funny, that he had a really good sense of humor.
Oh yeah, he's got some humor, no doubt.
But like I never really knew the song Heroes, and it's a beautiful song. What does it mean to you? Do you have
that's a hard question.
I mean, obviously it's about being an inspiration to somebody.
I think everybody
right?
The point he's trying to make is we all can be a hero if we want to be, you know.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
It's such an important message is that, look at yourself in the mirror and decide today if you want to make a change in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And that's what music never used to mean to me. Music was always like I knew the song, but I didn't listen to lyrics. And now in my older age, if you will, I listen to the lyrics and they're so important to me. I mean, it used to be about the guitar and the bass and the drums and the sound, but lyrics, I mean, that is what it is, right? And
yeah.
Bowie's lyrics.
He's one of my all-time favorites. I just want to talk about one more quick thing about Bowie. There's a book written by Wendy Lee. It's called Bowie the Biography. It focuses on his, as the New York Daily News called it, astonishing erotic journey. And there's a big section in the book about his relationship with Mick Jagger, and Angie Bowie claims she found them in bed together. But model Amanda Lear, who Bowie was seeing at the time, said that David loved Jagger, but they didn't have a sexual relationship. They really get into detail about that. There was certainly a competition between them. In fact, Mick Jagger said this about Bowie, quote, "Be careful of the shoes you wear around David, because the next time you see him, he'll be wearing them, and he'll be wearing them better than you." I love that quote.
Wow.
And
I love that.
aside from his two marriages to Angie Bowie and Iman, Bowie had a long list of lovers, both male and female, which is heavily documented in Wendy Lee's book. And in 1983, in an interview, he actually declared himself a closet heterosexual, which I thought was... So he did a lot of experimenting when he was young. And despite all...
But he was married to women through that whole thing.
Exactly. So he was a closet heterosexual. But I wanted to mention that book. And That's what I got on David
What was the
Bowie.
book again?
It's called Bowie, the Biography. It's by Wendy Lee, who's an English journalist who knew everything about Bowie and mostly his personal life. Gets into a lot of detail about drugs and sex, even though everyone did say it was the rock that was the most important thing to David Bowie. The rock and roll was more important than the sex and drugs, but the sex and drugs played a big role in his whole life.
Yeah, well, you would think as a musician that the rock would be the most important part. But I think in the 70s and knowing what was happening in New York City and all the places between New York and wherever all these amazing rock stars lived, it was always the after party.
Yeah, still is, really.
Right? I mean, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
well, I want to leave us on a beautiful note here because something that has changed my life in the last 2 years has been reading positive affirmations and understanding what the law of attraction means. And I think that this whole podcast came to us by chance in some ways. I thought one day, I got to reach out to Steve and tell him I want to be on his show. And then you were like, I've been looking for a co-host. And this just
Here we are.
organically happened. So I want to thank the universe for having that happen. So here is a quote that I think is really on point for what people need to envision in their life. Intention is ruling your life, whether or not you're aware. It's law. It is one with cause and effect, and you can't have action or reaction without it. In order to step into the most powerful version of yourself, you need to have clarity of intention. You need to know not just what you want, but why you want it.
I'm down with that.
Right? You gotta envision what you want and why you want it. And you gotta create it. And you gotta make it happen. And that's what Ian Schrager did, and Steve Rubell, and David Bowie, and Gary Clark Jr., and Arcade Fire, and all these successful people. I'm just, impressed by everybody's stories and how, I mean, sometimes it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Very true. I like that. Well, I don't know how to top that, except I'm just going to say thank you to Mike Nash here at Voice Motel for recording us, and let people know that they can reach us at seems to me, CSSR@gmail.com. And we have a YouTube page, Seems to Me page, and please like it, subscribe it, and all that.
And I would like to give a shout out to my dear friend Mark Femino, his new album, Femi La Bouche. We are using Harborside as our intro and outro song, or whatever you call it. I don't know these podcast terms.
That's close
yet.
enough.
If you ever care to sponsor this show, you're welcome to reach out to us and we'll give you a little rundown of what that means. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Steve, for doing this.
Thank you.
I'm having a great time.
See ya.
Bye.
So let the dance soul feel it in your soul. Take another round and let the good times roll.